And now let's turn to the other border of India, Pakistan. Their army chief has rebuked the government. His name is General Syed Asim Munir. He said, and I quote, "All Pakistanis must throw out the begging bowl." It's a noble thought. But as they say, charity begins at home, and the Pakistani establishment is surviving on loans. Look at the most recent developments. Last week, China rolled over another loan to Pakistan. It was for $600 million. Last month, the IMF gave them a $3 billion loan. That's the International Monetary Fund. Then you have Saudi Arabia. They sent Pakistan some $2 billion. The UAE gave them another $1 billion. So throwing out the begging bowl will be tough for the Pakistanis. It is their source of sustenance. And the trend is not new. China is Pakistan's largest bilateral lender. It accounts for 25 to 30% of the country's total external debt. And this is money that Pakistan cannot pay back now. Their coffers are empty. So they keep asking for more loans to repay interest on the old ones. In the last 3 months, China has rolled over about $5 billion in loans to Pakistan. The repayment has been postponed. And this comes as a major relief for Pakistan. As their army chief waxes eloquent, Islamabad is discussing more loans with Beijing. The country is surviving on handouts. It's caught in a vicious cycle. Loans, interests, more loans. Last year, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif spoke about this, about how even friends now look at Pakistan like a beggar nation. And he's used the begging analogy quite a few times since. Perhaps this candid reflection is not sitting well with the army chief. Yesterday, he spoke at an event. And let me quote from what he said. "Pakistanis are a proud, zealous and talented nation. All Pakistanis must throw out the beggar's bowl." But how will they do it? If the army chief has a strategy, he hasn't shared it yet. He was inaugurating an agricultural farm. We're not sure why, but we can tell you that the Pakistani army runs many businesses. Their chief export, of course, is terrorism. They run many terror factories. But apart from that, they run everything from bakeries to stud farms. Given this context, it's not too odd that the army chief was inaugurating an agricultural farm. Guess what he said about it? "An agricultural revolution is coming to Pakistan." Let me give you his exact words. "The agricultural revolution will continue in Pakistan and no power in the world can stop us from progressing." How very inspiring. But then again, what makes him say this? Not the numbers for sure. The share of agriculture in Pakistan's economy has only been dwindling from about 43% in 1960 to some 22% last year. Agriculture employs about 40% of all Pakistanis, but more than half of them are landless. And climate change is not helping them. Last year, they saw massive floods and losses. So even if there is this agricultural revolution he's talking about, it won't spell the end of Pakistan's economic troubles. And General Asim Munir did not bother to dwell on his point. He moved on to patriotic rhetoric. He said national security and economic stability were interlinked and that the country was like a mother to its people. The relationship between the people and the state is, quote unquote, one of love and respect. Sounds more like a patronizing lecture than a plan of action, which may have been Munir's goal all along. You see, the farm he inaugurated is also run by the military. Perhaps he was trying to tell people that the army was working for their development and that unlike the civilian government, which was always begging, the army would keep them safe and make them proud. It's an age-old trick, looking good by making the other side look bad. The Pakistani army has a history of doing this. They also have a history of losing wars, of launching coups, causing elected governments to collapse, training terrorists and eating up a lion's share of Pakistan's budget. It's a beast that Pakistan cannot afford to feed, but has no choice. Asim Munir's armed forces are as much to blame for Pakistan's begging bowl situation as its government.